Hey guys, what's up? My name is Tyler Belmont and I work at the ABU buy list department upstairs, but I got my hands on the brand new game called A Song of Ice and Fire. It's the tabletop miniatures version of this game. Now, if you don't know what that is, I wouldn't blame you, but you probably do know one of the properties. This is the property for Game of Thrones, the TV show. That's all over, that's everywhere right now, and it's one of my favorite properties. I love Game of Thrones. It's one of the best fantasy properties out there, and I'm super excited for this. It was on Kickstarter quite a while back, and it overstretched its goal by an absolute margin. The stretch goals were insane. In this box, we're actually going to have a couple of those stretch goals, I believe, but they also have a ton of expansions out for this game as well. Can't wait to dig my hands into those. As you can tell, this only comes with two factions right now, probably the most important factions, Starks and the Lannisters, the only two that anybody cares about. Go House Lannister. However, there is already a Night's Watch expansion out for this game, so you'll be able to reach for that right away. And as we can see on the back before I open this up, it's actually going to come with over 100 different miniatures straight out of the starter kit. And the best part about them is they're already pre-built for us. If any of you guys have played Warhammer before, you know that that's not always the case with Warhammer. And speaking of Warhammer, this is going to take me back a little bit because I used to play Warhammer Fantasy right before Games Workshop shut it down, and apparently this is a lot like it. It has very similar mechanics. But yeah, it actually completely blew away the Kickstarter goals that they were expecting. So most of these units are able to be picked up. There's already neutral factions out, like the Boltons. All right. So another thing about it is it's only going to come with a few of the heroes. The heroes expansions are going to be coming out. I don't know. I think the neutral heroes are out already, but the Lannister and Stark specialty heroes are going to be coming out later on this year. I believe September 28th. So here's the inside of the box. As you can see, all the pre-made miniatures already done for us, and they're already color-coded, which means that paint isn't going to be a major issue. It even comes with its own set of dice. It even has its own special terrain functions. But on the back's even more interesting because it, unlike other games, it has these dead body piles that you can actually use as barricades. It's exceptionally interesting to see this sort of stuff, especially these sort of terrains because, as you can probably tell from the back of the box, Starks are the only people that have cavalry coming out of the box. The Lannisters have more units, but the Starks have more cavalry. These are the hero cards. There are only technically 5 heroes. The Starks are going to have Great John Umber and Robb Stark, but they also have Grey Wind alongside to be on the battlefield. There he is hiding right there. And the Lannisters have Jaime Lannister and Sir Gregor Clegane, the mountain that rides. However, they also have Tyrion and Cersei because unlike Warhammer 40k, there's a political aspect of this game. I know, politics in Game of Thrones, right? It's completely earth-shattering. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. So here are the Stark units right off the bat. And as you can see, they already come with their instructions. You can see here are the Stark units already. The Lannisters are hiding on the inside of this. Another thing that's really, really nice about it coming in this is it has these right here. These are the unit platforms. You don't need to buy your own separate unit platforms. They already come in the box, and surprise, there is the cavalry I was talking about and some of the bannermen alongside that. Another great thing about these is that they're already very high quality. I was very surprised just how nice these came out. Especially if you slap a great coat of paint on these, they should look fantastic. Like here is, why don't we bust out Grey Wind here? See that nice detail? Absolutely exceptional work. I'm surprised. I mean, CMON Games has had like 28 different Kickstarters, so I'm not surprised that they come out with such high quality, but it's just so nice to see this, especially out of pre-built miniatures. That's extremely nice. Here's Great John. Absolutely massive, trying to wield his blade into some Lannister skulls. Kind of disappointed because he has all 10 fingers. you know, because this boy right here took 2 of them off. And then here are the political ones I was talking about. So these are the political entities right here. For House Stark, we have Catelyn Tully and Sansa Stark. And basically what they're going to do is they have their own little separate political track that they go on that gives you bonuses during the fight. That's super awesome that they were actually able to include stuff like that into the game, because what kind of Game of Thrones game would it be without politics? Just wouldn't be the same. While we're here, we might as well just bust this open and see what the Lannisters look like. See if they really are made of gold. As you can tell, very difficult to tell the 2 armies apart. So we're going to go straight into, here's Sir Gregor Clegane, the mountain that rides. Look at all that detail. Right up there. Even have some tearing in his cloak, which makes a lot of sense for the mountain. And just compared him to Great John. Oh yeah. You know, a couple guys in the miniatures are just going to try and ram these 2 bulls against each other. I mean, even the banners for some of these guys are just pretty insane. I'm a little bit skeptical on this banner specifically. It looks more like a Stark banner than anything else, but it's clearly a Lannister. So, it kind of looks like a dog running across. But it's more than likely because it's Clegane's men. Because there are 12 mountain men. And of course, if you're not happy with the number of miniatures that are coming out, which I would be absolutely surprised if you weren't, for the value that's coming in this pack. If you weren't happy with this, you could always buy these as separate packs as well. Except for the heroes. Well, I think everybody actually just wants to see this. Here's Tyrion. Here's Tyrion right there. Even got his hand behind his back. I mean, about the same size as his shield. So it's about up to scale for what they probably actually are in Game of Thrones. Sir Gregor Clegane is an absolute monster. And of course, here are the 2 main commanders, Sir Jaime Lannister and Robb Stark. I love their heroic poses. They're just excellent. However, my favorite one is Tywin's. Tywin leaning over the rock and pointing at your enemy. That's just perfect for his heroic ability, which is to force you to re-roll. So here is a Stark outrider. Cavalrymen. So we're also going to bust open a few of these hero cards. Now these are not just hero cards because the units have their own cards, just so it's easier to keep track of. These are also tactic cards that you draw throughout the game that allow you to do really interesting maneuvers. Now, another thing that's great about this game, especially from the starter kit, is that it's only allotted for about 45 to 60 minutes, which, if anybody can tell you that games lie about how long they take on the front, it's me. But I do believe from what I've seen that games go relatively quickly for a miniatures game. So let me see here. So you have a few things such as victory point cards that help you, that grant you closer and closer to your goal of winning the game. You have faction specific. You have things such as different settings. These are some of the tactics cards. You have like intrigue and subterfuge. You have intrigue and subterfuge. If I can speak English. Yeah, and all of these are actually pretty amazing, at least flavor-wise. I mean, paid mutiny. Here, a Lannister always pays his debts. When a friendly unit is destroyed, one enemy becomes panicked, one becomes vulnerable. You may select those at the same time. And if you control gold, you also return one other discarded tactics card to your hand. All very nice. And then, of course, you have hero-specific cards. Turns out, I believe Jaime Lannister is more adept at counterattacking than anything else, which would make sense because Robb Stark has the cavalry, so he's probably more used to moving in. Being one of the main goals is primarily probably towards charging. In fact, if you were wondering, Grey Wind, the direwolf, he counts as a cavalry unit. He's a little bit squishier than a normal cavalry unit, but he has his own little special abilities too. And then, of course, you have the Stark cards like Swift Advance, which would make a lot of sense, coming from the Battle of Oxcross, Swift Advance and sudden charges are always going to be specifically towards there. And you have, superior positioning for Robb Stark, which is just an excellent ability for him to have. It's primarily, the Lannisters are more towards weakening the enemy force. The Starks are more towards buffing their own forces. So that's what would make them very good at going up against each other. And you know what? We have actually, those were tactic cards. These are the specific unit cards that come for the whole thing, right? So here's Gregor Clegane's. And in fact, you'll get a better look at his full art depiction. And I believe they are almost perfectly in line with the actual unit. And then here's Jaime Lannister's. The cards feel great, especially coming from a buy list guy. The cards feel very nice. Here's Robb. And Grey John Umber. Still pretty disappointed that he has 10 fingers. That kind of annoys me. But it's no big deal. Also, it's probably a great idea to point these out. As I made myself look like a fool earlier by pointing out the Clegane Hounds, Lord Umber is actually his own subunit affiliation of House Umber, because these units right here are Umber Berserkers, specifically made for that affiliation. I believe it would probably come with some sort of bonus as well. And if you're wondering about the other lords, Eddard Stark, Ned Stark, is one of the other lords you can play as. So is Howland Reed. Kind of weird for Howland Reed since, nobody knows where Howland Reed is in the books. But that's okay, because he's really awesome to have as a Stark's leader. Of course, you have the great Tywin Lannister helping you out. You also have some interesting units like some of this stuff down here, some of the terrain. Oops. Some of the terrain even have their own little cards. Castle walls, of that nature. I gotta admit, it's very nice to actually have something that's based off of the books, not off of the TV show, because it inspires so much. It's actually very nice to have the classic Game of Thrones art style that came out before like 2011 when the show popped out. But actually, so a couple of the conditions here that are listed. So another thing is that you notice the special tokens here. These are conditions that your units face. The Lannisters are extremely good at popping some of these. I know Tywin specifically loves putting weakened conditions, which you expend these tokens after an enemy rolls an attack die and you force it to re-roll them. So very, very situational, but I can almost guarantee you that critting a hit and then immediately turning it into a 2 or something was going to be immensely nice. It even has, so this is just a rules summary on the back before you even open the book. You could probably play a quick game just based off of these rules right here. And as you notice on those cards, you have these specific orders. They're only once per round, triggers as activated, place order tokens. It also has attack bonuses such as charging, flank, rear, panic testing, all sorts of amazing things. Has cover, which is really nice. I do love the flavor of dead bodies piling up on the field and you having to move around it. If you want to take a quick look at how this game is set up with all of its different entities. And as I stated before, having all of this in one box is not surprising for Kickstarter, but it's exceptionally appreciated. Very high quality miniatures that are already pre-built, already colored disposed. Is very nice. In terms of recommendations, if you're a casual gamer looking for something quick to play, I don't think I'd recommend it. If this immediately jumped out to you, you're going to pick it up anyways. If you're like me, this is just going to go straight into your collection. If you're a casual gamer, probably not. More so, if you have a gaming group, or like sometimes a few players are left out and you're all huge fans, absolutely go for it. I think, especially if you can like split the cost of it, or you want to get some expansions. Anyways, I'm Tyler Belmont for ABU Games. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or anything like that, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. Make sure to like and subscribe for more gaming content. It's not just Magic over here at ABU Games. We got plenty of other stuff coming up. Take care, guys.